All right, so step one is that we're gonna tight the leg strap down to the ground symmetrically and make sure that both of the leg straps are fully released. You don't want them to be asymmetric, since then the stretch up to the canopy is gonna be uneven. So I'm attaching it to the ground with a stick. You can also tie it to a chair or something similar, it doesn't really matter. What we want to do next is to set the brakes on slider up setting. So we're gonna go for the lower loop. Usually, basically you have two of those settings. One is for slider up, one is for slider down. So you pull the brake down to past the ring, and you pull the toggle through the loop and then into the pocket. And then attach the lines into the Velcro on the side. Make sure that both of the lines are coming out on the outside once they're stowed through the toggle. Fold them in and close the Velcro. Make sure the lines are not in between there. And then you grab steering lines, rear risers and front risers between your fingers. So then you want to follow them up just like you do in any pack job. Make sure they're evenly. Pull down the slider and leave that behind you. And here you want to flip the pack job 90 degrees to the left. And then you want to count the 7 cells and put them on your left side. So that's all 7 cells. Make sure you're shaking them out. And then grab them evenly and shake the canopy out, and you're gonna put those between your legs. So pretty much like a skydiving pack job, all the same. And here you want to flake between A and B lines. And then you want to flake between B and C. And C and D's. Just like when you would skydive. A, B, B and C, and C and D. And here I prefer just to leave the brake lines and the back of the canopy hanging down. We're gonna fold that nicely later. So I'm bringing the canopy up in my right hand and I'm holding it in front of me. And once you have the canopy hanging in front of you, you wanna grab the 3 left cells, flake them out to the left, 2, 3. And then you want to grab 3 of the right cells, 1, 2, 3 cells to the right, and then you want to keep the center cell hanging and laying in between. And then now gently put it on the ground and try to keep your lines stretched all the way through. And from here, you want to step to the back side of the canopy. So you want to sit in the rear. And now you want to fold all of the exceeded fabric except the 3 cells laying there. You can see them. That's where we want to grab, and we're going to fold all of that over except those 3 cells that I'm grabbing right there. And here you got the 3 cells. You want to make sure that they're lined up correctly. You want to keep it even. And there you got the line attachment point. You can see it right there. So you grab it there and line up the rest of the cells just on top of that. Make sure they're even. And now you want to follow your right hand. Once you're holding it with your left hand, you want to follow that fabric up and stretch the lines. Make sure the lines are stretched. Follow with your right hand and fold that fabric over. Just a little bit of it, and you want to put that fold in the middle of those, between those tabs and the line attachment point. So now you want to grab those 3 tabs that I got in my hand right there. You want to roll them and put them on the top of the 3 cells that you just put on the ground. Hold them tightly, and then you want to shake this piece of fabric out. So you want to make sure that all of the fabric goes to the outside, and then you can stretch the bottom cells a little bit more. Make sure you have stretched lines. Shake out the fabric and then leave it right there. And now you want to grab the 3 tabs and you want to follow that fabric up and you want to fold that over in the middle. So you're just doing like you did when you were flaking. You're just redoing this, and now you're grabbing the next 3 tabs and you're shaking up the next fabric. And now you do the C and D flake. So now you grab the next 3 tabs and then you put in your knuckles holding the rest of the lines and the fabric in place and shake it out. Make sure that you're holding the fabric really tightly, and there you see I have the 3 bottom cells, and then I have the A and B's, C and D's, and right there I'm flaking it out again. The basic idea is to get the fabric out and the lines in the center of the pack job. So now we have A and B, B and C and D stacked on each other. Now I'm planing the fabric out, and I'm grabbing the side of the canopy, the tail, and folding it out to the side. And you can easily identify it. And now you want to do a fold between the steering lines. So you want to put the fold in the middle of the lines, and then you want to fold it over and leave the lines on the inside. And you see that seam? Now you're going to stack the next line on top of that. So you're doing the next fold, stretching out the fabric, planing it out. The line should be placed on top of each other, and here you're pretending that that's a line, so you want to fold that in the middle too, over, and now the last fold over that. So now you have 4 lines and all the fabric folded to the outside, and now we're in the middle of the pack job. And here you want to count the 4 lines, put them in your hand, in your left hand, follow with your right hand all the way up. Stretch it out. You see how I'm keeping all the lines stretched. And then I will grab the 4D lines in my left hand and keeps the line stretched. And now I want to use my right hand to push that fabric out between the lines. Just like any flake, just like you're doing when you're having it on your shoulders, but now you're doing it on the ground again. And now you're following up with your left hand, and you're taking the C lines in your hands as well. Keep all of the lines in the same hand. Don't mess around too much with the fabric. This is a little bit tricky in the beginning, so don't get frustrated. And now you're pushing out the fabric gently. And here you got the B's as well, so you're grabbing the B lines in your left hand and keep the fabric stretched all the time. And that's the last flake you're doing. And now you want to move it in a little bit to the center. So now we're in the center of the canopy. Stretch the lines. Push out the air, eventual exceeding air in the canopy. And here I'm also making sure that the 4 steering lines are stacked on top. Also make sure there is no lines between the stabilizers. And here you can see, here is all the fabric beautifully stacked on each other. And now we're gonna do exactly the same thing on the right side as we did on the other side. So we did half of the canopy now, and we're gonna flake over all fabric except the 3 cells on the bottom over the pack job. So here again, you got the 3 cells laying on the ground. You got the attachment, that's the tab that you got up to the line. Stack all the 3 cells on top of each other, straighten out the lines, pull the fabric over, stretch it, and do the fold. You see 1, 2, 3 cells. Hold it with your hand and flake it over. And here you're gonna find the 3 tabs again. Sorry, I'm just moving the camera around there a little bit. So here you got the 3 tabs. That's the line attachment tab. So just roll them together. Use your knuckles to lock the canopy in under, and then you can flake it. And now again, follow the fabric up with your left hand. fold over the fabric, and then you got the next 3 line attachment tabs. Grab them in your hand, roll them in, and lock the fabric underneath, flake, and then you want to follow again with your left hand underneath the fabric, and then you got the next 3 cells. Sorry, the next 3 line attachment points. Put them on top of each other and straighten them out. So that's the line attachment tabs to your D lines. That's why you're stretching it, because you want to keep everything stretched from all the way down from your leg strap up to the line attachment tabs. And now you see all of the lines are really straight and looking really nice. Pushing out the air again, and same thing again. Now I'm gonna fold over, it's the 4 D lines, and I'm just making sure that the fabric goes on the outside. That's the side of the canopy, and we go in. Now we want to fold the tail here again. So we have 4 steering lines. So we want to fold between the first steering lines and the second steering line. And then pretend there is a line where the seam is. And then another fold right over there. And note how I'm always using both of my hands. Now we're back in the middle of the canopy. I'm gonna grab these 4 steering lines again, as I did on the other side. And I'm gonna follow up with my left hand. So I'm grabbing the lines, the steering lines in my right hand. I'm following the fabric up. I'm grabbing the D lines and locking them together. So now I have the steering lines and the D lines in my hand. And I'm pushing out the fabric all the way out. So there's the point of this is to make sure that there is no fabric in between our lines. That's what we want to make sure. So here you're grabbing the B's again, and you're pushing out between the A and B's. So here I'm grabbing all of the lines, and I'm moving the canopy a little bit towards the center, and I'm pushing out the air. And then I'm usually pulling together all of the lines with my right hand and making sure that it's even all the way up. And here I'm using my left hand to make sure that the center of the canopy is really in the center. You can see you can see how the canopy splits in the middle. You can even see the center seam there if you're looking closely. And here I'm usually making sure that everything is stretched. So what I like to do, sometimes it can be a bit messy, so that's what I do in here. I'm grabbing the bridle of the canopy. Of the canopy, tying it together on the bottom. And now I'm going to the back side of the canopy, and I'm lifting up, and now I'm gonna pull the 3 cells as we folded on the bottom towards me. And that's to bring all the fabric together and stretch the lines even more. And this is gonna center the canopy even more. Like as I said, it's all about putting the lines in the middle and keeping the fabrics and lines stretched and fabric to the outside. Lines in the middle, fabric in the outside. So I would just grab the bottom 3 cells. I grab the 6 tabs, of the A lines, the 6 tabs of the B lines, the 6 tabs of the C's and D's. And then you want to pull the bridle, and you want to pull each tab all the way out through the middle cell. You see how everything comes together and it looks more neat? It's perfect. You see all the lines are all the way in the middle now, and they're all nicely stretched. That's how we want it to look. Don't get like frustrated if it doesn't look super perfect. That's a thing you have to practice on. The more you pack, the better you get. So now I want to take off the attachment to the ground here very soon. But first we want to fold the slider. So we want to take the slider and fold it between the front and rear risers on each side. And then we want to follow it up all the way to the canopy. So Grab it on each side. Walk it all the way up. Make sure there's no twist, anything. You're checking this multiple times. You lift it between the two grommets. That's where you want to stuff in the slider. And you want the slider crossed, just like when you're skydiving, but you're putting it into the canopy on the ground now. So you want to cross the slider inside of there. So I'm pulling it in, make it symmetric. It's very important for the on-heading opening. And then I'm pushing in and push it all the way in. Make sure it's firmly all the way up. You want the grommets to be all the way up towards the canopy. And here, just put it just like this. Perfect. And now you want to grab your steering lines. Both of the red lines that are marked red, you want to grab them in your hand. So it's the steering lines right there. 2 lines, walk them, make sure there's no twist. And here you want to bring them up between the grommets and fold the mesh of the slider underneath. And same on that side, you want to fold the mesh of the slider underneath, and then you want to wrap it up together. So wrap up all of the red marked lines with your mesh. And now, if you didn't do that already, you want to put a rubber band, a thin rubber band, on your center C line. And you're gonna see it right in here. I already put it. You see that's the center C line. In that tab, I attached a small rubber band. And that you wanna use to wrap up the slider and hold the slider on top. And make sure to double stow that so it holds it tightly. And put the slider in place. And here you wanna grab the tail pocket, which is right there. Grab the tail pocket and follow it down to line up with the slider grommets and the rest, and put your knees and gently lock it in. Here you got the side of the canopy, all of the tail, and you want to wrap all of the tail around everything except the A and B fold, the B and C fold, and the C and D fold. So that's 3 folds, should lay still on the ground, and the rest you want to wrap up. So roll it all in and make sure that once you're rolling it in, roll it symmetrically and keep the seam, the center seam, in the center all the time. That's what you want to work towards. You see the center seam in the middle right there, and make the fold and the roll as wide as the slider pocket is. So roll it in. Here you see it gets a little bit unsymmetric for me, but that's what I'm correcting right here when I'm going back and rolling it in. Just gonna do it now. You see that is a center seam. So I wanna roll it a little bit more to the left and lay on it and push out all the air and put it flat on the ground. So now it's time to get the spike that sits on the ground loose. And you're gonna sit down on top of the canopy. And here you got the slider pocket. And where the slider pocket is, there is a long rubber band which is attached to the inside of the tail pocket. So undoing the Velcro. I'm gonna grab the rubber band, which is right in there. And now I'm usually grabbing the steering lines, and I'm grabbing them first on the top of my fingers to keep them on top of the lines. I just like to do this because you want the steering lines to come out last. So if you're keeping them on the top, they will be the longest lines and they will be last out. And here I'm actually messed it up a little bit. I'm struggling a little bit to get it through. I was just confused. I was like, which which hand was it I was doing it with again? I got a kind of a brain stop. But here you got it, and I'm using putting the steering lines on top, and I'm pulling the lines through one time, and then I'm double stowing that with the rubber band. And I like to make it the size of a thumb, like the entire thumb. You can make it a little bit longer, a little bit shorter, whatever you prefer, but this is what I found good. Make sure that the rubber band is really close to where the slider goes up. So don't leave a lot of room between the lines which goes into the canopy. So now you want to start stacking them all up. Just grab them in your hands and then feed them straight up first. And then when you want to put the first stow on top there, just make sure you're making no twists and follow them all the way up. Pay attention to how I'm grabbing the lines. I'm holding with one hand and then I'm correcting it and then I'm feeding it towards me closer and closer. You see, I'm always one hand holding still and the other one is moving. And then I'm making the stows tiny, like a little bit smaller every time. And that's to keep them all stacked on top of each other. And then there is absolutely no problem. Like here I got a little bit of a mess, and that's I usually just correct. So you make them really big, the first one. The big stow should be big, and then you're making them smaller and smaller, and then moving them down a little bit closer to the bottom of the tail pocket. And now when we're gonna close the pocket, you wanna make sure that both bottoms you're closing first, and make sure that there is no lines in between the Velcro. This is really important. So make sure that there is no lines between the Velcro. It's a disaster and very, very bad thing if that would be. Could lock the line and leave you without a canopy. So you see right there, Velcro is on, checking, making sure that there is no lines in there. And then you see how both of the lines are coming out on one side. So now we're done with that. You can stand up. And now you're gonna put a pull-up cord in the top loop, so the one that sits on the bottom of your container. Push the air out of the canopy and you see the roll that you did. So here you got all of the side folds. You want to fold them to the middle of them, and then you want to fold it one time to the middle of that, and then you want to fold it up to the very center of the canopy. Just flip it over like that, you see. And then you put your knees on top of that so you can lock it, and then push out the air of the other side, fold it to the middle and to the middle again. 1, 2, 3 folds. Fold it to the middle and to the middle again. And here you can see that if the pack job is done perfectly, then you will have the labels lined up and everything that comes out should look the same on both sides. And sometimes you have to work in the fabric a little bit just to make sure that everything is tight and neatly. You see here, I'm pushing out the air, I'm making sure that it's evenly made. And then I'm putting my right hand in between the lines and I'm grabbing the entire tail pocket and the fabric on top between my fingers in my hand. And now I will lift it up, hold it straight up, and then I will put the container underneath. Lock it with your knee so it doesn't move around. And here you want to fold it to the bottom of the container. Make sure that the risers that you fold in underneath are not twisted or that they're laying outside of the container. And here again you want to grab the top of the canopy, like the tail, and then you want to fold it over. And fold it over just above where the loop goes into the bottom of the container is a good place to aim for. And right here, you actually got the 3 cells on each side. So let's see here, I'm just fixing the camera. So here you got all the 7 cells again, which you folded early in the beginning of the pack job. And you're gonna have 3 cells on each side. And then you're gonna have the center cell. That's the center cell. That's 1 cell, 2 cells, and 3 cells. So put 3 on the side, keep the center cell centered, and then you wanna grab those 3 cells and follow them up like they're gonna come into the middle, just like that. Push out the fabric alongside of the folds, and from here you wanna roll it in. And roll it from the top and into the middle. And then you want to fold the center cell over this roll. So make sure that all of the cells are locked and they're not exposed. Push out the air, and then you want to wrap the center cell around that. So that's the center cell. So now we locked the 3 outer cells with the center cell, and that's because we want the canopy to inflate from the middle and out. And when you're locking in this way, you can be sure that it's gonna catch air first, because the center cell will be fully exposed, the center of the canopy. And here you see that we rolling in the 3 cells on the other side, doing exactly the same side, exactly the same thing as we did on the other side. And same thing here, fold the other side of the center cell over the rolls. And you see how it looks there? You can see the back, it looks a little bit like, yeah, you know what I mean? If you're having a close look, and yeah, and then you're stretching it up from the center cell. You want to follow the seam and stretch the fabric all the way to the bottom. And then wrap the rolls around and on top of the center cell. And now we want to do the last third fold, which goes over like that. Hold it with your left hand. And now I like to use my knees to keep it flat and to not make it move. And then I grab the bridle, and I'm gonna put this between my legs and making sure that the bridle comes straight out of the pack job. And no, it shouldn't wrap anywhere around the pack job. It should come straight out from the middle. Optimally, like everything should pull from the middle, and everything should be as symmetric as possible. And now we want to feed the loop with a pull-up cord through the top flap. And then push down the ears of the canopy, all the tabs. You just want to gently roll it like in under the pack job. There is different ways of doing this. I just like to roll it in and push it out. And keep your body on the pack job as you do this to keep it as neat as possible. And here you want to bring in the loop and push it in, pull it up. And now we're into a really important part of the pack job. We want to close the container in the right way. And to do this right, we want to make sure that the pin it should come out flat, right? So what we want to make sure here is that the pin comes out flat, and that there is no twists, like anything weird on the bridle. So you see it goes straight up and it goes straight down with no spins or folds, and then the bottom pin comes down like this. Not like this. You see that's a twist, for example, and that's absolutely not okay. That's how you want it, come out straight, no twists, just straight through. And now we're doing the bottom of the container. Simple, same thing, just close it up. And here you want to be careful with how you're routing the bridle. Again, you want to make sure that the pin is going on the bottom of the bridle. And it should just be one fold from the top and go straight down to the bottom. Check so there is no exceeding fabric between the loops or in through the pins or whatever. Pushing the corners. And then you're tucking in the bridle in the middle and put the Velcro on the inside. And pay close attention to how I routed the bridle. And now you want to fold that in the middle. Just gently fold it in there. And then you want to close that up just like that. Here, just make sure that the bridle runs straight all the way and tuck in the bridle in the bottom underneath the flap. And make sure that there is no twists, anything. And what I like to do is that I'm doing the mushroom kind of packing when I'm doing the pilot chute. It's a really simple one, but it's what's worked for me since I started. I'm folding the mesh in my hand in the middle, and then I'll just stack the bridle on top. So straight out the mesh all the way to the top of the pilot chute, fold that in the middle, and then you folding the folds of the bridle up over there, and then make sure that it's symmetrical. Grab it and put it on the ground, and here you want to roll the mesh over the folds of the bridle. Make sure that the folds of the bridle are getting smaller and smaller and they're not uneven. You want to keep everything symmetric. And here you see how I'm gonna fold it 1 and 2 times in of one side and 1 and 2 times in on the other side. And then I'm gonna tuck it together, keep it tight and keep the bridle in there, and then we're gonna stuff it in the BOC before we're having the first pack job done. So stuffing the bridle in there, make sure that the bridle is on like the closest side to the rig, and tuck in exceeding bridle just underneath. And yeah, put it just like you want it with the pilot chute. I like it to stick out a little bit, and that's how it looks. Pretty much the first pack job done, and we're ready to jump.